This whole Karen Civil thing is a big old mess, and we're going to talk about it. So if you don't know and you've been living under a rock or something, or maybe you're just not aware of who she is, I mean, she's famous as an internet personality. I think like in the early days of, social media, she really sort of rose to sort of I wouldn't say fame but notoriety for her work with celebrities. She, I know she apparently did Nicki Minaj's social media. She did a lot of work with Lil Wayne. So she was sort of bringing the hip hop community into the online space in that time period. And so she's built up a reputation. I actually met her and interviewed, she got me an interview with Nipsey Hussle at the Made in America festival back in, I think that was like 2014. So I did meet her and she was very kind to me. And so that's my experience with her, is like she was a very kind person. Met her through a friend who also worked in the industry. But I guess my experience comes from, I was working in journalism. I was working in, a notable publication. And so who knows? I mean, people don't tend to do bad things to press. So I don't really know anything. I can't really speak about what she's done for other people, but I just know my interactions with her have always been good, or has always been, was good the couple times that I've spoken to her. That being said, there's a lot going on in the news. So Jessie Woo, who's this sort of online personality, accused her. I think they had a lawsuit going back and forth. Karen apparently sued her for something, and they're just going back and forth. It was like a $3 million lawsuit. And it looks like Jessie claims that she's won. Karen is disputing that she won, or she won one section of the lawsuit. Whatever the case is, Jessie sort of like was exposing her on her social media, claiming that, basically that Karen sort of wanted to go for her because she was the underdog, and Jessie came out with a victory. So that happened, and then all of a sudden, all these other people in the industry started chiming in and talking about what Karen Civil has done to them. Even Meek Mill came out and said that she did him dirty. But the rapper Joyner Lucas basically accused her of stealing $60,000, which really, basically he said, he gave her $60,000 to do his sort of stuff for his career. I think it was in the public relations field, getting his name out there, getting him in front of publications, getting him spoken about in the media. And that was his last $60,000. This investor gave him $60,000 to put into this. And apparently, well, in his words, she stopped answering his calls or whatever. He was trying to get in touch with her and she didn't do anything, in his words. Now, they went on Clubhouse, which is a popular social media app, audio app. And there was a little bit of a back and forth. It was a very long 5-hour room, or probably longer. And they had all sorts of people in that room. And what I love about Clubhouse and social media and this Web 3.0 space is that today, now everybody can come and have a live phone call where the world can listen to it, and it's broadcasted for the world to listen to. So that was a very interesting thing, and you can do it instantly. It's just a click of the button. So that was a good space for Karen to go and sort of repair her image. And I think it really helped her because, all these claims going on social media, if she just came out and, posted on her Instagram, not everyone would see it. Or even if they did see it, they really wouldn't understand the tonality behind her voice or hear her argument all the way through. And I felt as though the Clubhouse situation really helped her, in my view, to put out her side of the story, and he put out his side of the story. And just from my gatherings, from what I understand from his side of the story, is that he gave her all this money as a creative, and he just said, well, just go do what you need to do with it to fix my situation. Didn't give her much instruction or direction, and didn't know where the money went. But he made it look as though, well, she took all the money and she ran with it. And whatever the case may be, maybe she did help, maybe she didn't help, there doesn't seem to be much receipts. She did say that she has receipts of how the money was spent, but there doesn't seem to be much receipts backing up the situation. But what I have to say is that this industry, the media, the entertainment industry, is known for having shady people. And yes, it's not a good narrative to come out, well, that's just the way the industry is. Well, that's just the way it is. It's not a good idea to do that. There are a lot of big people that we all look up to that do shady deals behind the scenes, because at the end of the day, it's for them to get richer, and the creative, they exploit creatives. I'll give you an example. NSYNC, the boy band NSYNC, their manager, they were getting paid, I believe, $30 a day. $35 a day. That's how much they were getting paid as members of NSYNC. And their manager, who wrote himself in the contract as the sixth member of the group, he basically took all the money. And can you imagine, the biggest boy band in their time? And he also managed the Backstreet Boys and exploited them. So this is a thing. It's not a racial thing. It's not anything, but people exploit creators. People exploit creatives. And I just want to give some tips to creatives, so to know exactly where your money is going, how to monitor it, and avoid being exploited. So the first thing, when I bring up the NSYNC situation is, but before we get into that, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all of the above. It really pushes this video out in the algorithm and encourages me to make more videos. This video is brought to you by Brand Video Pros Members Lab, an online course that helps brands and influencers scale their influence in sales. Now let's begin. So the first thing, when I bring up the NSYNC situation, is get a good lawyer. Always get a good lawyer. Pay the right price. Pay it in double if you have to, because these whether it's a record label, whether it's a manager, whatever it is, they are preying on the fact that you don't know your information. That is what they're preying on. That's how they're using you. That's how they're exploiting you, on the fact that they're playing on the fact that you don't know this information. And that's how they get you into this contract. You think this contract means something, and it means a whole other thing. And that's happened to me in the past. But what I learned is, get the best lawyer, because a lawyer will sit that down and refine it. So I say, don't get your friend to read it for free who studied law. Don't get your friend, no. Go to the best law firm, entertainment law firm, get the best lawyer, and figure out how you're gonna pay that price. Because if you don't, well, you're gonna mess up your situation. 9 times out of 10, people are gonna exploit you. And sometimes, look, that's the first lesson. You learn that way. Next time you'll pay for the right lawyer. But if you want to avoid that mistake, get the right lawyer. So that's the first thing, get the right lawyer. The second thing is, when you're hiring somebody to do a service for you, you need them to break down exactly how they're going to spend that money. Don't just give money out like that and, oh, do this. You need a cost breakdown. I'm going to do this and it's going to cost that. So what it seemed like was happening with Joyner is that he gave her all this money and she just ran it through her system, the way that her system runs. But there are things in her system that he didn't need her to do. He said he didn't need her to do X, Y, Z, that he already had that down. But how is she supposed to know that he already had that down if he didn't communicate and he didn't come with a proper breakdown of what he wanted? So that's one thing, right? As a creative, you should look out for that. But also on her side of things, I think when you're running any kind of business, you should already offer a menu and a breakdown of your services. I guess not everyone does it, because that ambiguity allows you to exploit and make more money. So both of them are wrong, for sure. Both of them are in the wrong. But at the end of the day, who lost the money? Who got screwed? So protect yourselves and don't get screwed. So as creatives, you guys really need to understand how your money is used. You need to understand the what, who, where, when, why, and how of your money, so that your money works for you. And the reason why you need to do that is because every single dollar can be spent on something strategic that will work towards building your career or whatever your target is. So you need to be very specific about where your money's going and how it's going, how it's moving. So you require that from her. You require the what, who, when, where, why, how of your money. And you do that before you pay the service provider. And if a service provider is acting irritated that you're asking those questions, well, you know that that's not the right service provider for you. Because if they're already irritated before you've even given them the money, trust me, once you've given them the money, they're going to run and they're not even going to answer your calls. And some of these creative, especially in LA, a lot of these sort of freelancers, they have this attitude. And I don't know, I'm not saying that Karen is anything like that, but I noticed, because I lived in LA for a little bit, about 3 years, and I used to, spend my summers there working in the industry, in entertainment. And even some creatives themselves, some filmmakers, different people, they just have this attitude of like, I'm doing you a favor. These service providers that do that, and it's honestly not going to help them in the long run, because you'll have 200 clients and that list will go down to 25 because you're not a good service provider. So yeah, you also have to look at the behavior of your service provider. Is your service provider, friendly? Are they, yeah, they're competent. Competence is one thing, but I don't care if you're competent if you're not going to execute. Execution is more important than competence. And if you can find the B person that is going to 100% deliver what you need, it's better than getting the A person that's going to string you along and not even do the work. So talent is great, but talent isn't everything. So when you're picking your service provider, you need to ask the what, who, when, why, how, and all of that of what it is that you need them to do. And you need to make sure that they answer those questions. The next thing, when you're dealing with all contractors, any kind of contractor, you must always never give all the money up front. That's absolutely a no. Don't ever do that. Because once the money has landed, well, people will lose motivation to execute. So you can do a deal whereby either you give 50% up front and 50% on completion, or you could do a payment schedule by month. I'm going to pay you this much every month. Different service providers have their own system that works for them. Some people say 70% upfront. Different people are different, but at the end of the day, you can negotiate. You can always negotiate. And just always remember that's just a rule in life. You can always negotiate and get the price and the system, the working terms to be suitable for you. And if there's no mutual agreement, well, you don't need to go to that service provider. I promise you might have a scarcity mindset. You might think you're not going to find another one. And I promise you that you can, especially in this online internet generation that we're in, where all you have to do is go on Google and search. There's going to be the guy under that person that is maybe even better than the one that's famous and well known. So always never give full percent, all the money up front. Always make sure there's some sort of payment schedule, and people are not always going to accept like payment on delivery, but some money up front, and then you need payment benchmarks to make sure that they meet certain targets or certain goals. But at the same time, look, pay your service providers. That's another thing. Make sure you pay your service providers. And this is the reason why a lot of people ask for more money up front, because they don't want to not get paid down the line. The last thing is to always have a contract. Always have a contract, and all your payment, especially when you're dealing with $60,000, that kind of money. Sure, okay, fine. If you're dealing with anything under $10,000, maybe an invoice is good. But anything over $10,000, I think there should be some sort of written agreement that breaks down not only the service that you're getting from the client, and as well as all the terms around it, as well as the payment schedule. All these things are going to be listed in your contract, and this is going to ensure that there's some sort of law that it requires this person to execute. And any proper, I think most high-level service providers, or the ones that, I won't say high level because they're people that have accomplished things, but the ones that are the most structured business-wise, they're going to already have a contract, a template, or a contract that they use for all their clients, and they're just going to say, oh, well, here it is. And again, when you see that contract, you get a lawyer to review that contract. It's so important, because a good lawyer is the difference between getting $35 a day being the biggest boy band group in the world, because you were sold on a dream that you're going to be rich, and your manager took all the money. And literally, it's not just NSYNC, B2K, it happened to them, Backstreet Boys, it happened to them. It just seems to have happened to all boy bands. People get exploited. Now, it's not happening as often in this social media generation era, new media era, because there's a lot more information out there and a lot more help out there. But I promise you, if people can find loopholes and ways to exploit you, they will. Even if you're the biggest star, somebody's trying to exploit you and probably is succeeding at it. So get that ironclad contract with a lawyer, get a lawyer to oversee your movements to ensure that you are not exploited. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the whole Karen Civil situation. It's really unfortunate, but those are my thoughts. I hope this video is helpful to you. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time.